Good evening, everybody. Donald Trump has done it. The ultimate political outsider pulling off a historic upset early this morning to become the 45th president of the United States. The Republican nominee ran one of the cleanest campaigns in recent presidential history, pledging to be a president for all Americans, to bring back jobs, to restore prosperity to our middle class. And his supporters came out in droves to propel him all the way to the White House. Trump summed up his momentous night in this way on Twitter. Such a beautiful and important evening. The forgotten man and woman will never be forgotten again. We will all come together as never before. It is a sentiment, a confidence that Trump echoed in his victory speech last night.
The President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Ours was not a campaign, but rather an incredible and great movement made up of millions of hardworking men and women who love their country and want a better, brighter future for themselves and for their family. No dream is too big, no challenge is too great. Nothing we want for our future is beyond our reach. And I can only say that while the campaign is over, our work, this movement, is now really just beginning. We're going to be doing a job that hopefully you'll be so proud of your president. You'll be so proud.
So proud. And among our guests tonight, former Reagan White House political director Ed Rollins, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the New York Post, Michael Goodwin, the Weekly Standard's Fred Barnes, the co-host of The Five, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Also with me tonight, Republican pollster Lee Carter and Republican strategist Tony Sayegh. Our top story, the underdog campaign, the outsider campaign that stunned the political establishment, the Washington elites, the political world. From the moment Donald Trump announced his candidacy 513 days ago, he's been underestimated, first by the Republican establishment, then by the mainstream liberal media. Now it's clear he outsmarted nearly all of the political savants and everyone else. Fox News chief political correspondent Carl Cameron has covered the Trump campaign from the very beginning and has our report.
I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans. And this is so important to me. For those who have chosen not to support me in the past, of which there were a few people, I'm reaching out to you for your guidance and your help so that we can work together and unify our great country.
Trump has won 279 electoral college votes so far. This is how the country looked after the 2012 election. Trump has picked up at least 4 blue Democratic states and flipped them red Republican. 2 blue states are still undecided, Michigan and New Hampshire, as is red Arizona.
This is a historic night.
Trump increased the percentage of both black and Latino votes by 2% over the 2012 GOP number. He got 67% of working-class white voters and 49% of college-educated whites. After one of the most combative, tumultuous races in modern politics, there was a palpable shift in tone on all sides. Trump was humble, gracious, and complimentary.
She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory. And I congratulated her and her family on a very, very hard-fought campaign. I mean, she fought very hard. Hillary has worked very long and very hard over a long period of time, and we owe her a major debt of gratitude for her service to our country.
With many Democrats disheartened and shocked by Trump's surprise victory, President Obama today also took the high road.
And one thing you realize quickly in this job is that the presidency and the vice presidency is bigger than any of us. We are now all rooting for his success in uniting and leading the country.
House and Senate Republicans successfully defended their majorities in Congress. As a candidate, the president-elect feuded with House Speaker Paul Ryan and vowed to drain the swamp in Washington with term limits and ethics reform. He got a warm congratulations from Ryan this morning.
I've spoken with Donald twice in the last 18 hours. We spoke last night, we spoke again this morning. I think we are going to hit the ground running. We're already talking about getting our transitions working together. We're very excited.
The president has offered to meet with Trump in Washington tomorrow, where he also may meet with congressional leaders. Now comes the real work. Trump's already begun the work of the transition, speaking to some foreign leaders today, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who Trump invited to come visit after he's inaugurated, and with the Mexican president, who described the conversation as cordial about the areas where they can find common agreement. Lou?
Carl, thank you very much. Carl Cameron. We want to bring you up to date now on the latest figures on this election. As Carl reported, the president-elect so far winning 279 electoral votes to Clinton's 228. 3 states, as Carl also reported, have not yet been called: Arizona, Michigan, New Hampshire. Hillary right now is ahead with the popular vote. She has a lead of just about 206,000 votes. Joining me now to assess what was a historic election and an extraordinary 24 hours, Great America PAC strategist, former Reagan White House political director, veteran of 9 presidential campaigns himself, Ed Rollins. Ed, before I introduce our colleague, let me say to you, congratulations. A terrific win for Donald Trump and the campaign team. Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the New York Post, Michael Goodwin. Both Ed and Michael are also Fox News contributors. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's start with the feeling that you have here and compare it, if you will, to those 9 other campaigns.
Well, the only one I can compare it to was the Reagan campaign of 1980, which was and we always knew we could win in the Reagan campaign. It was just we were beat up pretty badly by Carter, but we always knew the country wanted to throw Carter out, and Reagan, who I'd watched for many years in California. This was one that obviously, as you watched it, this was all about him. This wasn't about his campaign team or any of the rest of it. He connected with voters. You had 3 different changes.
Not unlike Reagan.
Not unlike Reagan. But as he walked on that stage last night, and I have, as you know, having watched me evolve on this show over the last, to become not just a semi-critic or doubter, to where I'm now really, I really believe in the guy. And watching him on the stage last night, I have great confidence that he's going to go tackle the very significant problems, and he won't flinch. No one ever took more shots from the mainstream media, the establishment, than he did, and he didn't flinch. He didn't flinch.
You know, you talk about character.
Yeah.
Everyone got a pretty good look at what he's made of over the course of the last 17 months because, as Ed says, Michael, this man took a shot from every quarter, from every segment and sector of our economy, our society, our political system.
Yeah, it really was remarkable, and I think to the everlasting disgrace of the liberal mainstream media. I mean, I think whether they can
everlasting, because I agree with you. This is not going away.
It was disgraceful, and again, what we saw in WikiLeaks confirmed that this wasn't just an isolated opinion. This was a coordinated attack on one party by the journalists conspiring with the other party. Right. I mean, we've never seen anything like this in modern times. But to Trump's own...
And by the way, we should also make it very clear. This level of conspiracy that WikiLeaks revealed goes beyond the individual journalists that were calling up John Podesta, the campaign chair, and saying, John, basically, what do you think I should ask your opponent? This went to the level of an institutional collusion between the networks, between those newsrooms, and the campaign structure of Hillary Clinton.
And I'm sure we don't know all of it. I mean, what we saw was essentially a sliver of it from Podesta's emails, but we don't know other ones anyway. But in terms of Trump himself, Lou, I think he conducted himself brilliantly last night as well. I thought that was a terrific speech. It was a sort of thing that you would hope every winning candidate would come out after a bitter campaign and take the highest road, and he did.
And let's give Hillary Clinton credit, talking about being open so that to her followers, her supporters, her voters, saying let's be open to his leadership, give him a chance to lead this country. I personally took those as heartfelt remarks, sincere remarks, which she intended in a very gracious moment in what has otherwise been a very hard-fought, at times outright ugly campaign.
Toughest campaign I've ever seen. There's an interesting thing, though, that I thought about late last night. 2 legacies. Since the 80s, there's been 2 families that have dominated politics. He took care of the Bushes in the primaries. They're gone. There's not going to be another Bush for the foreseeable future. The Clintons are now gone. She was the inevitable nominee for the last number of years. And to a certain extent, he has dented badly the Obama legacy. So it's a totally clean start. I mean, he basically can move forward. He doesn't have to worry about who's behind him, what have you. He just has to clean up the mess in front of us.
You get the feeling that whatever the next battle is politically after the Trump presidency, whether it lasts 1 or 2 terms, I personally hope it lasts 2 terms, is immensely successful, and I expect him to be successful. But you believe, looking forward, that we're going to see a generational contest in the next very serious battle for the White House. As we look at Kelly Ayotte losing her Senate race, she's one of the rare disappointments last night for the Republicans. We see a Republican National Committee, and that's right, Reince Priebus, this is where I say I owe you an apology. Right. He actually put together a terrific strategy and moved forward and got done what he said he was going to get done.
I agree with you totally. Yeah. The interesting thing is she was one of the most vocal Trump supporters, anti-Trump, and she walked away from, and she may very well
to her
have,
shame and regret,
and she, probably to her regret. So
yeah.
Look, I mean, I think last
he had
night,
coattails. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh, sure.
He had coattails.
Paul Ryan conceded as much, which must have been difficult for him to say.
Yeah, I can't imagine what.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Paul Ryan. This is a man who, at it appeared, the behest of Mitt Romney, a man who had lost 2 presidential tries, tried to intervene in this election and did so at the ugliest moments in the ugliest of ways, betrayed the nominee of the party. What kind of future does he have?
Yeah, I'm told that by somebody who knows him that after Romney gave that speech, he thought it was going to change everything. He thought that would really open the floodgates against Trump within the Republican Party, and Trump would be finished. And I think he was just stunned that it had absolutely no impact.
Well, it's now his party. It's now Donald Trump's party. He can remake it.
But that's right there. But 2 days ago, Paul Ryan was saying it wasn't Donald Trump.
Well, let me tell you something. I'll put any speaker up against any president. The president's going to win when it defines a party. It's now his party to define, and basically, if anybody who gets in the way, I mean, I hope there's cooperation. I hope we can do some accomplished things. But at the end of the day, this is Donald Trump's party, and it's Donald Trump's agenda.
Can I just say quickly, too, Lou? I think
yes, if I may interject your interruption.
Yes.
That is, we now have a Republican Senate, a Republican House, a Republican White House. This is a moment of historical opportunity for leadership, and his leadership promises to be strong and directed.
Look, I think if Trump delivers on the key promises, if he can harness Congress to work together, I think we will look back on this as a tremendous break in American history, that what he can accomplish and the countervailing force that defeated the Clintons, the Bushes, that whole
and the
cultural,
Obamas by extension,
and that cultural domination of the left. I think this was a major, major breakthrough for conservatives.
I think you're right. This is an inflection point in American presidential history and political history.
Just think to the working class people of America elected a billionaire because he represented them better than anybody else.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And this is about the people. He's made that clear throughout. Yeah. And this is a time. And by the way, we saw it in the stock market today. We had people caterwauling and wailing and gnashing of teeth, and the poor daffodils watched the futures market collapse for about an hour, and then within no time, we're talking about now over a 200-point rally on Wall Street. It is a Trump rally, make no doubt. Ed Rollins, Michael Goodwin,
thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Up next, triumphant yet gracious President-elect promises to be a leader for all Americans.
Working together, we will begin the urgent task of rebuilding our nation and renewing the American dream.
Monica Crowley, Matt Slapp join me next with reaction to the historic Trump victory. Much more straight ahead here as a new era for America has begun. Stay with us. We'll be right back on this special edition of Lou Dobbs Tonight. Donald Trump's historic victory gives Republicans control of the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate, where the GOP successfully defended their majorities. Republicans holding on to 51 seats in the Senate to the Democrats' 48 pending a runoff election in Louisiana, which they are likely to win, by the way. In the New Hampshire Senate race, incumbent Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte conceded to Maggie Hassan just hours ago. And in the House of Representatives, Democrats gained only 6 seats. There were expectations of as many as 16 seats being surrendered to the Democrats. 193 seats as a result. Republicans' strong majority, 238. Joining us tonight, the chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp, and Washington Times online opinion editor, Fox News contributor, Monica Crowley. Great to have you here. I think I need to say to you, both of you, congratulations. It was an amazing night.
Yeah.
The Republican Party did itself proud, expanding not only its control in Washington, D.C. to the White House, but also in governorships. A very impressive night for the Republican Party, Monica.
Yeah, indeed. And I just want to toot my own horn here a little bit, Lou, and say that I was one of the very first, just within 2-3 weeks of Donald Trump announcing for president in June of last year, going on national television with you and others on Fox News and Fox Business saying, stop laughing, do not underestimate him, he can win the whole thing. When we talk about the composition of the Senate and the House, these were Donald Trump's coattails. The folks that you just mentioned who lost, they were the ones who distanced themselves from Donald Trump. And they refused to talk about him. They condemned him in so many words, and they paid the price. Donald Trump has single-handedly redrawn the electoral map and is single-handedly remaking the Republican Party more as a populist party that can appeal not just to conservatives, but also independents and disaffected Democrats.
As Monica says, Matt, it is exciting to see a populist strain now within the Republican Party where we have watched a hard-pressed middle class shrink over the course of the past quarter century in this country. Household net worth, in point of fact, not move forward from 1990s levels. 20 years of basic stagnation for our working men and women and their families. This is a new Republican Party as a result of last night, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've been too cavalier as a country with dismissing jobs, energy jobs, manufacturing jobs. Our regulatory state is out of control, and obviously our corporate tax policy is not at all in sync with where the rest of the industrialized world is. So you put that all together with a Republican Congress, Lou, and we don't have 60 votes in the Senate, which is always a big concern. But you put that together with what's in Congress, Donald Trump could actually get some real things done here. And I think some things that would do some of these people who poured out to vote for him some real good. And, you know, Republicans need to make sure they do 2 things. We got to be true to our philosophy and our market principles, but we have to check them.
Well, can I interject there?
Sure.
I'm not sure those principles are a shared tablet of precepts at all any longer. The fact is, you can chisel out of those concrete tablets, if you will, or stone tablets, the Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable, because now it has to incorporate the welfare of working men and women, their families, and the sustainability of their income in this country, investment in this country, America first, making America great, not kowtowing to the Chamber of Commerce or the Business Roundtable. This is a new sheriff in town, without question.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you, Lou, and I think it's wrong for the Republican Party to have its first stop be after an election to check in with those entities that do nothing but interact with the Fortune 50 and say, okay, what's our agenda going to be? Our agenda, we have to check our math by seeing how it impacts the working man and woman in America. And I don't think we've done that enough, and I think that's going to change.
Haven't done it at all. You haven't done it at all.
Yeah, no, Republicans have never done that, Lou. And what really carried the day for Donald Trump is, A, he was the supreme kind of change agent, but B, it was his message of economic populism. He spoke to the American people on the issues that directly affect their livelihoods. stagnant economic growth, stagnant wages, illegal immigration that suppresses wages in this country. He spoke directly to those issues in terms that they could understand. Therefore, they created an emotional bond with him, which was something that was unbreakable.
Well, we've got an opportunity here now to watch the Republican Party both come to its senses, being led by, apparently, Paul Ryan. Matt, he sounds like he's taken on a new medication. Hopefully, it will be the elixir of success for the nation. Matt Schlapp, we thank you for being with us. Monica Crowley, thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, it's been a long and at times divisive campaign for the White House. But now, President-elect Trump says it's time to unite the country.
To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people.
Wouldn't that be nice? How will Donald Trump unite the country? I'll be talking about that with the Five's Kimberly Guilfoyle. She joins me here next. We're coming right back. We've got much, much more on this great day in American history. How about that? Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, joining me now, co-host of the Five, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Kimberly, great to have you with us. Trump to become the first Republican president to also have a Republican Senate and House since 1928. I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Momentous occasion, and here we were just 24 hours ago talking about the election and what would be. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the people that were saying they knew it and that Trump had no chance were, proved incorrect. Wrong. So that's what happened. But, people came out to support their candidate, which I think is really important to focus on, that the working men and women of this country said enough about Washington, D.C., enough about not their needs and interests and their wallets being taken care of. Yeah,
their needs, their desires have just moved up the hierarchy of priorities in Washington, D.C. by an order of magnitude. Donald Trump has pledged to make them front and center, the most important people in the country.
He was listening, Lou.
Yeah,
he was listening. He heard them.
And he is insisting there will be no more forgotten men and women in this country, and hallelujah, it's more than about time. Jack Ma, Alibaba's founder and big shot Chinese tycoon, serving notice on Donald Trump today that he better get along with the Chinese and listen to them, or there'll be a disaster. Now, this is a Jack Ma who's a scrawny little fella. I mean, he really is. I mean, he's a nasty piece of business. Right. And he tries to put a big grin on it. But he's talking straight to Donald Trump, saying and warning America. And it's about time they understand, and I guess it's going to take some time for them to understand their deal of warning the United States just ended.
Yeah, there's a different sheriff in town now, so kind of their business as usual, taking advantage of this country and trying to run our economy into the ground and manipulating their currency. Sorry, that's canceled. That's no longer going to be allowed, and so they better get used to it. But issuing
this
these
also serves
empty
notice.
threats.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Issuing these kind of like taunts and threats at President-elect Donald Trump, I mean, that's not going to get them very far, believe me.
Well, it tells you how far, really, President Obama has let the country slide in the estimation of other nations, particularly the most powerful, China, Russia, others. Donald Trump is here extending his hands to Russia, to China, to all the world, in point of fact, to treat people fairly, to treat everyone square and fair. Right. But act in our own interest. I mean, he said that straight out in the last 24 hours.
Well, that's transparent. It should be like, governance 101. And so when you see people saying, even Russia and Putin saying, yes, let's try to work with the United States to create, global stability. And when you see Netanyahu saying yes, because he feels like once someone is listening to him. And when you see Peña Nieto saying yes, and he's going to meet with Donald Trump, he's trying to get to work right away, which is fantastic.
Netanyahu, I think, understands he's got a partner
yes.
In Trump. And Mexico understands they're going to have to grow up. They're going to have a mature relationship in foreign policy with the United States.
Yeah, take some ownership.
Paternalism is over.
And take some economic responsibility as well.
Absolutely.
You know, this has to be a two-way street. It's enough of Americans being the ones to carry the rest of the world on their back. Let's have partnerships. Let's have open dialogue. Let's do something for this country to put dollars back in the pockets, the wallets of hardworking Americans, and I can't wait for it to get started.
America first. I like the ring of it. Kimberly Guilfoyle, thank you.
Thanks,
We're coming right back. Tony Sayegh joins me. America celebrating President-elect's Donald Trump's victory. Speaker Ryan trying his best to keep his job, apparently, after trying to undermine Trump throughout the entire campaign.
I think what Donald Trump just pulled off is an enormous political feat. It's an enormous feat in that he heard those voices that were out there that other people weren't hearing, and he just earned a mandate. And we now just have that unified Republican government.
A unified Republican government, and we here consider Paul Ryan to be among a group we call the objectionables. We learned this this kind of language over the course of the campaign. These are what I consider to be objectionables. Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, all of the Bushes, and the Ricketts. You know, they've made a transition here. I would have put them in there months ago, but they have become factors for the positive and for Trump. Steve Wynn, who had an opportunity to stand up for Donald Trump. And I'll be doggone if a guy who I consider a smart fella, he forgot his principles and he forgot his place. And that was to stand shoulder to shoulder with a friend and make a difference in the country. And he could have been part of history instead of, well, on the wrong side of history. And well, there are a lot of words I could use for the next fellow. His name is Evan McMullin. He was an annoyance, a member of what tried to be at least a member in good standing of the Mitt Romney Mormon Mafia. That would include Senator Mike Lee and a few others. You know, it was sad to watch him and Mitt Romney try to intervene in a presidential election and work against the national interest. The stalwarts include Wilbur Ross. Wilbur Ross stood up, and he's a friend of mine, so I'm proud to say that. The Mercer family and Jeff Sessions, Steve Bannon, Chris Christie, Reince Priebus, Rick Scott, Peter Thiel, a lot of these folks to talk about. And a special mention to 10-year-old Barron Trump. Can we get a picture? There he is at the edge of the picture. He struggled to stay awake at 3:30 in the morning throughout his dad's victory speech. He did it. He stood tall. He wavered a little, but he stood tall and good going. We put you in the stalwarts. And joining me now, another stalwart, Republican campaign strategist, Fox News contributor, Tony Sayegh. Tony, your analysis last night of Florida was spot on, terrific.
Thank you,
my
sir.
compliments and my thanks. This was an incredible victory that some of the most Trump faithful, the most faithful of the Trump faithful, didn't see being realized.
Well, what were we told, Lou? If it was a big turnout, Trump was going to lose. It was destiny, right? This was a bigger turnout than 2012, and Trump not only won states like Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, the traditional must-win battlegrounds, he expanded the Republican map to the upper Midwest Rust Belt states, including Wisconsin, Iowa, of course, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, probably Michigan, when it's all counted and said and done. And that goes to show you the power of the right message delivered by the right messenger. And you've been on this for a long time. You deserve credit for this, Lou. There is an economic populist streak in this country that transcends partisan label. People who are frustrated with bad trade deals, bad economic policy, bad job creation policies, bad immigration policy. That all converged for Donald Trump's benefit in those upper Midwest Rust Belt states, and that's what led to this big win.
And you know what I love is that he had both the intellectual insight as well as the guts to go up into the Rust Belt to those deep blue states and say, you know, the hell with the Democrats. He is bringing a message that he wants and he believed in so firmly that he moved his campaign there in the final hours. He wrapped it up in Michigan, for crying out loud.
Correct, and he forced Hillary Clinton and all her big surrogates, as we discussed, for a long time leading up to this, to go to Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, 3 states she decisively ended up losing. So it goes to show you it's not enough just to have the power of personality and maybe stardom, the big surrogate names that obviously her campaign had. They were wrong on the message.
Yeah.
And that's what truly ultimately ended up mattering in this election. And that's why I think you saw Trump overperform the polls, which never gave him a shot. Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
And he also had 8 years of wrong. That is the Obama administration. It's going to take a lot of work on Donald Trump's part to repair the profound damage of the Obama administration to this country, to our economic system, to restore, as he points out all of the time, this country's confidence in itself. He talks about winning. You're going to win so much now, you're going to be sick of winning. I guarantee you, Mr. President-elect, I'm not going to be tired of America winning. And America first. People will actually be able to walk down the streets of cities and towns and roads and ditches in this country and actually say, America first, and won't have to apologize to anybody. It's a great moment.
I totally agree on that one. Optimism, happy warriorism is returned via Donald Trump's win. But 2 things made me sad this election, Lou. Number one, this idea that so many Americans felt their system of government just simply doesn't work for them. Even when they play by the rules, even when they do the right things, save money, pay for their kids' colleges, work 2 jobs in many of these cases. The fact that this average American person, let's not talk about the white, uneducated voter.
Oh, by the way,
a working class person of any color and stripe.
Let's point out, the college-educated white person who was supposed to be going for Hillary turns out to be a lot smarter than we thought, despite that white educated degree of theirs. They actually did learn something, and they voted at about half for Donald Trump. I mean, I got to thinking that maybe these college degrees didn't mean much if everybody's going to vote for Hillary Clinton.
And they certainly voted enough for Donald Trump. The second,
49% of them.
The second piece that kind of makes me sad is when you hear Paul Ryan and others now finally realizing why he won. It shows a detachment that occurs when you gain power, when you go to Washington, when you become part of an elite. And they're not bad people, but they do end up losing touch. Well,
I just want to keep it
real. You get to say that, Lou. But they do end up losing touch with the people they serve. And I think Donald Trump
they don't want to
win.
See, I disagree with you. I'm sorry, Tony.
Okay.
It's a reach too far for me. They want to stay out of touch. They want to be cloistered in publicly financed comfort on some sort of government or public payroll. And they want to have privileges and perks beyond those who pay their way. It's time for the American taxpayer, the American middle class, working man and woman in this country to get their due. And that's what I hear Donald Trump promising. And that makes me very, very happy.
And that's the pivot to where those 2 sad points replaced by the happiness of opportunity now to have their voices represented adequately in our government vis-a-vis their president. That is a big moment for America right now, Lou.
And I'm going to ask Tony to stay with me here during the commercial break and diagram that last sentence of his. We're going to... I couldn't, so I'm going to ask him to. Tony, it's always great to have you.
Lou,
thanks so much. What a great day for America, huh?
Indeed, sir.
Be sure to vote in our poll tonight. The question is, with the victory of President-elect Trump, are you more confident, more optimistic about our country's future? Cast your vote on Twitter at Lou Dobbs. Follow me on Twitter at Lou Dobbs. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram at Lou Dobbs Tonight. Wall Street welcoming Donald Trump with a rally. Investors showing faith in his economic plans for prosperity and for the nation. The Dow Jones Industrials putting on a first-class Trump rally. The Dow soared 257 points. The S&P up 24. The Nasdaq up 58. Volume on the big board. Are you ready? 6.2 billion shares. Yeah, it's morning in America. Listen to my reports 3 times a day, coast to coast on the Salem Radio Network. Up next, Florida set the tone and the direction last night, becoming one of the first major battleground states to go red in what eventually would turn out to be a historic win for Donald Trump. Blaise Ingoglia, the chairman of the Florida Republican Party, laid out clearly for me 24 hours in advance what he expected to happen in Florida. And he was right. He joins me next. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Donald Trump's blowout victory last night started with the battleground state of Florida. The Republican nominee won nearly 120,000 more votes than Hillary Clinton. Trump won 35% of Florida's Hispanic Latino vote. Let me try that again. 35%, just 4 points less than Mitt Romney in 2012, and all of the experts were wagging away their tongues, suggesting that because he had been tough on illegal immigration, that would translate to disaster with the Hispanic vote. They were wrong. Joining me now, the man who predicted a Trump victory in Florida Monday night on this broadcast, Blaise Ingoglia. He's the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida. He has a smile on his face tonight, and with good reason. First of all, I want to compliment you and congratulate you on the call, and also compliment you and congratulate you on the victory of the Republican Party, and in particular your nominee for president, none other than Donald Trump.
Well, thank you, Lou. It was a great night last night. We're very excited about the results.
And, you know, you had said to me and to the audience of this broadcast that you believe that as the night wore on, you would see, you didn't say for sure, but you said you believed you would see the Republican vote come in and overwhelm whatever the Democratic lead was. You turned out to be exactly right. Give us a sense of what you think led to the victory.
Well, when you look at the data, well, one thing I would say about people who were looking at the data, if you look at the data through the prism of the political establishment, you're going to come up with a political establishment answer. I was looking through the data. I was looking through the data through the prism of a frustrated American electorate that is frustrated with Washington, D.C. And the data was there. I just think some of the political establishment just refused to see it.
Yeah, and as you look across, as you canvass all of the pollsters, not all of the pollsters, but nearly all of the pollsters, it was conventional thinking on display in nearly every turn, with some exceptions. By the way, one of those exceptions was the polling of the Trump campaign itself. Kellyanne Conway, a terrific pollster herself, had found a way, a strategy, if you will, that left options open for Donald Trump to succeed to 270. The path that was ultimately followed, only she had anticipated, and no one else, at least in savant land, guru land, or pollster land, had thought about.
Yeah, and, you know, if we could talk about the actual results here for a second.
Sure.
I think what we saw last night, and dovetails into everything that we're talking about, is two things happened last night. Is one, like we said from the beginning, this was a referendum against the status quo, a referendum against a corrupt political establishment that is absolutely tone deaf to what everyday Americans really want. But this should also be viewed as a mandate to Republicans to govern the way you campaign and do what you say you're going to do. The voters told Republicans last night to be bold, to be unafraid, to stand up for what you believe in, and because good policy and what you're standing up to believe in also makes good politics, and the voters will get your back. And that's what I believe that we saw last night.
And all of those issues, of course, he identified, the president-elect identified and campaigned on. He also campaigned against globalism, in favor of Americanism, in favor of sovereignty, not open borders, and control of our immigration system and control of those that we bring into this country, whether refugees or immigrants. And these are going to stand powerfully as issues in which he says it will always be determined with the bedrock, the foundation of America first. You've got to be excited about that.
We are excited about that. And look, I think that's one of the things that Donald Trump really tapped into with the American electorate, and he really tapped into in the state of Florida. All of the things that you have just outlined are problems that the federal government has created and has not been fixed for the last 30 years. And people just got tired of waiting around and listening to a lot of rhetoric, listening to hyperbole, and quite frankly, listening to excuses of Washington, D.C. for not fixing things. And they saw somebody who came along who said, you know what? I understand what's going on. I really get your point of view, and I'm going to fix it. And that totally resonated with the electorate last night. We saw that.
Blaise Ingoglia, you saw that. You also saw a victory for Donald Trump, one of the few in the great state of Florida, and of course throughout the great nation of the USA. Political elite said it couldn't be done, but last night Donald Trump did it. He defeated a system that was rigged. He brought the status quo crashing down. And Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway joined Fox and Friends this morning to talk about the key to his success.
It's really Donald Trump. The man is brilliant, and the man is gutsy, and the man ran and sacrificed to do this for the country. For him, he can literally satiate that appetite for an outsider who goes to Washington owing nobody anything.
And joining me now, executive editor of the Weekly Standard, Fox News contributor Fred Barnes. Fred, great to have you with us. And today in your publication, you were very generous to Donald Trump, who had run afoul of your good buddy, Bill Kristol. So I want to compliment you on the article in which you talked about his tremendous victory and the potential for change. What is your thought tonight? As he is now the president-elect, and he has with him the House, the Senate, and the wind at his back, as it were.
Indeed, he does. And look, he has things that he can start doing almost immediately. And I think of Obamacare. I mean, that's not that hard to get rid of it, repeal it.
Yeah, it has
it's a little
to be
harder
done.
to replace it, but.
Yeah, and I think we have to acknowledge it has to be fixed. That's all there is to it.
It does have to be fixed, but
because it's a runaway disaster right now.
Has to be fixed, but has to be killed first, and that's certainly something. And he's going to have a Supreme Court nominee to pick to fill the seat of Justice Scalia, who died some months ago. But then there are two other things, that this is not just.
As you said that, Fred, there's a lot of relief all over the country that Donald Trump is the president-elect, because of the importance of replacing Scalia, as you say, but also the prospect of as many as 2 or 3 vacancies on the High Court over the course of the next 4 to 8 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, the way I put it is, he saved the Supreme Court.
He saved the nation.
A disaster.
He saved the nation.
Yeah. It would have been a disaster with Hillary Clinton putting on the kind of justices that legislate. I mean, rule whatever they want. They're not examining the Constitution to see what they can do. But he has to do work in the beginning on the two things he talked about the most in the campaign. One was immigration, and there's a lot he's going to have to do to change the laws. The legal immigration laws in the United States. Get rid of the lottery, get rid of the chain immigration, and stop allowing immigrants to come in who take jobs away from working class Americans.
Yeah, and he has to move against the sanctuary cities in this country and bring law enforcement to law, because without it, we are, as he has pointed out numerous times during the campaign. A nation without laws is no longer a nation. A nation without borders is not a nation.
He certainly said that a lot of times. You know what amazed me in the campaign that I hadn't expected? I mean, in the election, Donald Trump had coattails. Pat Toomey wouldn't have won in Pennsylvania if Trump had not won the state of Pennsylvania.
Right.
Roy Blunt wouldn't have won in Missouri and preserved his seat in the Senate if it hadn't have been for the very strong showing of Trump in Missouri. And he certainly helped Ron Johnson win in Wisconsin as well. And then you felt in many, many vulnerable House seats in different parts of the country, the fact that Trump did well saved the seats of many of those Republicans.
And the half dozen seats that were lost, it was at the lowest side of any estimate. The strength of the Republicans, and again, I want to give credit to the Republican National Committee and Reince Priebus, the chairman. They put together a ground game that worked. They put together something every bit as strong as he promised he would, and they delivered, working both up ballot, perhaps not with some of the energy that some would have wanted, but certainly with sufficient energy and taking care of the down ballot offices, down ticket offices as well. So
yeah,
an extraordinary night for the Republican Party.
Yeah, it was. It was a party victory led by Donald Trump.
Without question. Without Donald Trump, by the way, none of this is under discussion. He brought energy, he brought imagination, originality, and excitement and enthusiasm that they could not have even approached thinking about this kind. They couldn't have thought about victory, in my opinion, at all, were he not at the top of the ticket.
Without Trump, yes, Democrats would now control the Senate.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and most likely the White House as well. Fred, well, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Fred Barnes, Weekly Standard. World leaders today reaching out to President-elect Donald Trump. Russian President Vladimir Putin among the very first. The Kremlin said Putin expressed, quote, his hope to work together for removing Russian-American relations from their crisis state, end quote. And he was confident, he said, that, quote, equality, mutual respect, and a real accounting of each other's positions, end quote, would lead to constructive dialogue. Don't you love it when leaders talk like that? Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto tweeted, quote, I am confident that Mexico and the United States will continue to tighten its ties of cooperation and mutual respect, end quote. Peña Nieto said today he and Trump agreed to meet to discuss the future of bilateral relations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised Trump in this video message.
You are a great friend of Israel. Over the years, you've expressed your support consistently, and I deeply appreciate it. I look forward to working with you to advance security, prosperity, and peace. And I'm confident that the two of us, working closely together, will bring the great alliance between our two countries to even greater heights.
And there's this rather dire warning from Jack Ma, the CEO of Alibaba and one of China's richest men and something of a global ambassador for the Chinese state. Quote, if they, Trump and China, don't work with each other, it's going to be a disaster, end quote. Now, there is a nice positive thought to start things out. Thank you, Jack Ma. Joining me now, former Pentagon official, member of Trump's National Security Advisor Committee, Fox News contributor KT McFarland. Great to have you here.
Good to be with you.
Chief economist for Moody's Capital Markets, John Lonsky. Thanks so much for being with us, John.
Thank you.
KT, Jack Ma is a bit much to start with on any level. But he's one of China's global ambassadors, and he starts this nonsense. This is not a very smart thing for the Chinese to do, and they're used to being smart. Yeah. But Obama seems to have, well, let them lower their standards a bit.
Well, they're used to pushing us around, and they're certainly pushing us around in the South China Sea, trying to claim one of the world's great trade routes for an internal Chinese lake. At the same time, one of the leading Chinese military guys said, we're looking at we may have a confrontation with the United States. We, China, we built up our military, and we're gonna, if the United States doesn't back down, essentially, we're going to head to trouble. But I think what's interesting about what you've just said, this is a new opportunity, a new president, but particularly a Trump president who thinks outside the box. You know, he's not a status quo guy.
Yeah, but it makes it all the more aggravating
that the Chinese
that son of a gun would start that way, and the Chinese would start that way.
That's not a fight they want.
China needs the U.S. consumer. And, you know, today we're focusing on that equity market rally. The Treasury bond market got clobbered. You know, one of the worst days for the Treasury bond market since July of 2013, the taper tantrum.
Right.
One of the reasons, supposedly, behind the sell-off of Treasuries was a sale of Treasury bonds by China. And they have been reducing their holdings of U.S. Treasuries for some time.
So for the last
and they sell it. It puts upward pressure on yields. And if yields rise too far, too fast, 2.06 in one day, 20 basis points.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff of which partnerships are not made. And it does send a signal, a strong signal, particularly when you have all sorts of investment now being called upon by the president-elect to be returned to this country. This is really dumb on the part of the Chinese, and I'm used to them being smart, but they're being dumb, they're being blunt, and they're going to create issues that are not going to be helpful to them.
No, and I think they were expecting a Hillary Clinton presidency, and Hillary has very famously said, well, you don't pick a fight with your banker. You can't get tough with your banker. All of a sudden, they got a guy who's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Maybe they gave a lot of money to the Clinton Foundation. Who knows? Investments not paying off. I have no idea.
By the way,
I'm being comical, of course.
Yeah, well, of course you are, and as great economists are wont to be. One of the issues here, obviously, is whether or not we can get this economy moving. Donald Trump has talked about bringing back the immense trillions of dollars, $2.5 trillion, and most people think that's a conservative number that corporate America has in accounts overseas for investment in this country. With that $2.5 trillion, let's take that number. I mean, you could stimulate the dickens out of this economy and do so in very quick order.
Well, that's provided that companies want to go ahead and put that in capital equipment and the like and not redistribute that money to shareholders through equity buybacks, special dividends, or whatever. You know, it could be M&A activity, too, that could fund. But in the long run, that might be
not likely to be M&A activity. And I would say the reason for that is there is no real benefit from it. It creates concentration. And neither Trump nor the Obama administration is particularly fond about talking about oligopolies of, say, 4 actors or fewer in any industry. I mean, it's time for people. Trump talks about competition, and suddenly you see Wall Street talking about, oh, well, we could start putting that money into dividends. We could do clawbacks. I mean, paybacks. Excuse me, clawbacks sounds so rough.
Equity buybacks. Yeah, stock buybacks. Yeah. Well, the problem with that, though, of course, is why do companies want to merge? Why do they want to acquire other companies?
Because they've run out of ideas and they've run out of opportunities.
Precisely. Organic revenue growth isn't there.
And that is what we don't want to see any more of. We've had a belly full of that. We want to see growth. We want this engine revving up to 4.5%.
So we have to have tax cuts there. Not only for corporations, but for individuals as well.
And regulatory reform, and it's morning in America again.
And redo health care reform.
Well, we've taken care of so much already. And it's only the first day of the president-elect's new world. So we thank you very much.
You.
Katie, thanks.
Thank you.
Watch the Chinese, watch those Russians, watch those Iranians carefully for us, will you?
You got them. I got them under control, and Donald Trump's going to put them right where they belong.
Excellent. John, thanks. It's great to see you, my friend.
My pleasure.
And you watch those son of a guns.
Okay.
All right, we got everybody under a watch tonight. Up next, his victory speech. Donald Trump thanking those who were critical in helping him win the White House, including the very first senator to endorse him.
The first man, first senator, first major politician. Let me tell you, he is highly respected in Washington because he's as smart as you get. Senator Jeff Sessions.
Up next, the first member of Congress to endorse Donald Trump for the high office that he is about to hold. New York Congressman Chris Collins joins me. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Joining me now, Congressman Chris Collins, the first member of Congress to endorse Donald Trump, the co-chair of the campaign's House Leadership Committee, also a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committees. Great to have you with us, Congressman.
Well,
congratulations.
What a great night.
Wait. I got to say congratulations. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. I won my re-election as well, so it was a good night all around.
You bet.
Yeah, there we go. So we're looking forward to the united Congress with the Republicans in charge of the House, the Senate, and the White House. We can actually move legislation, a Keystone Pipeline, repealing Obamacare, put it on the president's desk, and he's going to sign it. So really, the legislative work we have to do now is to legislate bills that will be signed into law, which is very different than the last 6 years. A lot of messaging and bills that we knew weren't going to go anywhere. But in point and fact, when we put Keystone Pipeline on Obama's desk, he vetoed it. No surprise there.
You won't have to repeal. You won't have to repeal Obamacare, but one more time after doing it 60 some odd times. I mean, it's going to be great to be able to be pulling the trigger on real live ammunition instead of all those blanks you've been firing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is what's got us all excited. We had a conference call today with the whole conference, and it's going to be all hands on deck starting Monday to get our leadership elected and then to move into a legislative agenda on all manner of things that this country needs.
Your leadership elected. Wait a minute. There's a bulletin in there. You're going to elect your leadership Monday?
Tuesday.
And why so soon? Why so soon?
Well, I will tell you this right now, Lou. I don't think anyone's even got an opponent. I think we understand the pressure we've been under with President Obama just being in total disagreement on the direction of the country.
Whoa, Congressman. You've been in total disagreement with the president-elect on the campaign, with the president, the nominee of your party, and Paul Ryan. What are you talking about, Obama? Obama and Ryan got along great. Are you kidding me?
Well, right now, we're looking at tomorrow and the next day. We're not going to dwell on the past. We're looking forward.
How about the present? I'm asking you a question about the reality of what is the conflict with your leadership and the nominee, the conflict with the conference and your leadership team.
Well, right now, both Paul Ryan and President-elect Trump have been on the phone a couple of times. They are singing from the same book. And we're going to work on a legislative agenda.
Whose book?
It's Donald Trump's book.
Well, there's that now. See, we got another bulletin. We got another bulletin.
Donald Trump was elected. Donald Trump.
Are you saying Paul Ryan is signed on with the nominee to push his agenda, the president's agenda?
I would say that is correct, and the president is going to be looking at Paul Ryan and us to make sure that we fill in the details on it. But when he has said we're going to secure our borders, we're going to bring our jobs back, we're going to have energy independence.
He said he's going to build a wall. He said he's going to take control of immigration. He said he is going to remove 2 million criminal illegal immigrants from the country.
And we're going to do that.
All right.
I mean,
super.
There you go.
So
no, we are not in disagreement with Donald Trump's top line vision. We're going to have to, put pen to paper, if you will. No one is disagreeing. We have to get the criminal element of our illegal immigrants out of here, that we need to secure the borders. Donald Trump said we're building a wall. I mean, that was front and center. Yeah. We're going to build that wall.
Yeah, but you've had, of course, in Paul Ryan, a man who said it's going to be, the better way, the silly 5 task force agenda thing that he created. Is that now dust and history, or is that going to be a conflict with Donald Trump?
I mean, the better way includes a tax reform proposal that Donald Trump has looked at.
You got to be kidding me, Congressman.
What do you mean?
You got to be kidding
me. If we don't lower taxes, Lou, we're not going to get this economy going. And
it's all important where you start. Whether you start with the president-elect agenda or where you pick up with Paul Ryan and his fetid agenda that is an absolute joke. And by the way, your membership acknowledges to me it's a joke. He's the only one walking around waving a pamphlet. You got to be kidding.
They are not mutually exclusive. Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. He's going to set the agenda. We're going to take our marching orders from Donald Trump.
Amen,
There's
brother.
no two ways about that.
Amen.
There's no two ways about that.
Hallelujah, and have a great lame duck session. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Congressman Chris Collins.
Okay, Lou.
Up next, many celebrities are eating crow today. Will the Hollywood elite do us a favor and leave? We'll find out next. Canada may be on its way to becoming the next Hollywood. In the wake of Donald Trump's historic victory, we may see a historic number of celebrities leaving the country. Bryan Cranston, Lena Dunham, Stephen King, Barbara Streisand, a slew of stars have said in the past they'll be part of an exodus to Canada. Others saying they'll leave North America entirely. None of the celebrities have made good on that promise, of course, yet. But we should point out that the Canadian immigration website last night actually was so inundated with folks trying to climb aboard that they crashed the immigration website of Canada. And the attitude seems to be in this country, though, on the part of most Americans I've talked with about those celebrities leaving, as they say, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Joining me now, Bree Payton. She is politics editor for The Federalist. Great to have you with us, Bree. And WOR radio talk show host Mark Simone. Good to see you, my friend. Let me start, Bree, with you. This is an extraordinarily gracious moment today between, I thought, Hillary Clinton and the president-elect, something that I didn't expect. Your reaction?
Yeah, I think that, Hillary Clinton was extremely gracious. And to be honest with you, I was very impressed with the way that she has handled this defeat. I think that turning over power graciously and peacefully is one of the cornerstones of our democracy and the way that our political system works. And it is quite unique to this country. Nowhere else in the world, this kind of transfer of power would happen this seamlessly. So I really do applaud her for just being willing to step aside gracefully. However, I do think
what would
that
you
a
have thought she
reckoning...
would do? I mean, put up barricades? I mean, you make it, come on. I mean, it's what happens every 4 years, when we get lucky, and that's what we had happen. The GOP today, just talking, Mark, with Chris Collins, who endorsed Trump. I mean, it sounded like he was maintaining fealty to Paul Ryan while talking about the nominee. I don't know exactly what's going on there. Do you?
Yeah. Do I have to be gracious here?
You do not. You can be yourself.
So I think a lot of people fell for those rigged polls. They didn't know what was going to happen. Why didn't Hillary speak at the Javits Center?
Right.
She had 10,000 people. They stood there for hours. I think she didn't come out because out of arrogance, they didn't have a concession speech written.
Right.
I think she only had one speech.
Well, we've been told during the evening that Trump and Clinton were both preparing a victory speech and a concession speech. I don't really know what the answer is there, but I do know that Podesta was awfully awkward and really intemperately insulting to thousands of supporters when he basically just waved his hand and dismissed them from the Javits Center, saying that she would not be stepping forward. I think she made good on that. Because she saw how poorly received it was.
I don't think anybody told her who created the Javits Center. It was Donald Trump's first project as a young man.
Yeah. I think they got so fixated on the glass ceiling above them.
Another thing which needs to be pointed out, he broke the glass ceiling. We'd love to see a woman president, but this is a glass ceiling, a private citizen as president. It's what the founding fathers intended, private citizens coming into government.
That's a wonderful point. Bree, your sense about Paul Ryan now and the role he's going to play, are his days numbered? Or, it looks like there's still the basis of great contention there. And listening to the conversation, the radio interview with Charlie Sykes in Wisconsin the day before the election, it sounded to me like Ryan thought that Trump was going to be defeated and he was making a play for this better way nonsense that he is conjured up as some sort of agenda.
Yeah, I really have to say, I really enjoyed watching the Republican Party just completely melt down. I mean, this is a party whose leadership was about a month ago completely oblivious to the fact that Hillary Clinton wanted to repeal the Hyde Amendment. This is also a party that wasn't able to fulfill their promises, wasn't able to defund Planned Parenthood, wasn't able to repeal Obamacare, despite having a majority in both the House and the Senate. So I really have enjoyed kind of watching this party melt down and kind of realize, oh, hey, maybe we actually have to do something to make good on the promises that we've been telling the constituents all along. So I do think it will be interesting to see
So you're
Paul
kind of thrilled
Ryan's...
with a Trump presidency and having the leader of the government in office, in place with an agenda, as he has?
I wouldn't use the word, I wouldn't say I'm thrilled with the Trump presidency, but I will definitely... I think that Donald Trump raises a lot of issues that other people have been gaslighting for so long, and as someone who is a first-generation American, my parents and my grandparents are often frustrated by the immigration system, that their waiting in line gets, overlooked
So
or
are they
pushed
for him
aside,
or
and other
against him?
people... I'm sorry, what was that?
Are they for him or against him?
My family's been on the Trump train this entire time. So I guess, my family definitely had a closer ear to the rest of the American electorate than I did.
So you are now on board and are ready to move ahead with our new president. See, America is
again,
a great
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't, but you will. Mark Simone, Bree Payton, thanks so much. We'll take this conversation up. We'll be taking Bree's temperature as the Trump train moves along, headed toward the nation's capital, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Thanks to you both for being here. Up next, Trump's victory propelled by working men and women, their families, our middle-class Americans searching for a brighter future, as have generations of Americans for more than 200 years.
We have a great economic plan. We will double our growth. and have the strongest economy anywhere in the world.
The slaps. Join me next as we assess how Trump broke every stagnant orthodoxy, won the White House in the doing. And we'll be right back in this special edition of Lou Dobbs Tonight. Thanks for being with us. Stay with us. We're coming immediately, forthrightly back. Back with me now, American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Slapp. I'm also joined by the former spokesperson for the President George W. Bush administration, White House, and all, Fox News contributor. And oh, by the way, Matt gets to hang out with Mercedes because she decided to marry him. And here they are. Great to have you both back.
Hi, Lou.
And congratulations to you both. You both, I've got to give Blaise Ingoglia, the head of the Republican Party in Florida, great credit for making the call he did. You guys were on top of Florida last night and had the, what would you call it, the Rosetta Stone to what was going to happen there. So congratulations to you on that.
Lou, apparently the Schlapps are going to be spending every election night with you from now on.
Well, that's wonderful. You got a deal. It worked out pretty well, didn't it? And as we look at what's going on with Donald Trump, I mean, he looks like he was born to the role that he is now in. That is, president-elect on his way to leading the free world. I mean, it's been a seamless change of circumstance over 24 hours, at least in my perception. Your thought, Matt?
Yeah, you know, I was informed today that I'm officially not going to be called a Trump surrogate, and I thought that was awesome because you know what that means?
I have no idea.
It means, well, it could mean I did a bad job. It could also mean that they're ready for govening, and it's time to talk about how we populate these important roles and advisors around them, and this is money time.
You know, that's a critical phase, as you know, because in the George W. Bush administration, you played a prominent role there. And Mercedes, your thoughts?
Well, I have to tell you, what's been interesting to watch have been the establishment Republicans, Romney, Jeb Bush, George W. Bush, coming out and in essence, basically respecting what has happened and noting Donald Trump's victory. And I think that's very telling because I think that it shows that we are moving in a direction where we know we need to have this smooth transition. We saw Hillary Clinton, I think, gave a very gracious speech today. And I think it just shows that at this point, it is time for the country to heal, to come together, and it will take time, but it does allow Donald Trump to move forward and work with Congress and, as Matt said, govern. I mean, there is a lot of issues on the table that he's going to be able to push forward because of the fact that we've got a united government. You know,
as a matter of issue here, you know, setting up the transition, and I have been able to report on transition since actually Clinton's in 1992, in which he pulled off an amazing transition, speaking just to that issue of his presidency. It is so important to put the right people in the right place who can translate the president's values, his promises, and his perspectives on the country and the way forward. Some are arguing that will be more difficult for him because he is an outsider, because he is anti-establishment. What do you think, Matt?
Well, Reagan did this in 1980, and he brought in a lot of new people to the system. And I would urge, look, I oversaw the appointment process in many ways in the beginning of the Bush White House in 2001. And it is critical that you bring in new people. I've learned lessons from that, and I've relayed them, by the way, just so you know. And I think it's important that you bring in new people. And the most important thing is you get a hold of these bureaucracies immediately. Right after you put your hand on the Bible, you've got to have your people in these agencies because they will be up to pernicious deeds within the first couple of days.
The Justice Department, that is a department that needs to be, I mean, it absolutely, you talk about a swamp that needs draining. That's one has to be drained forthwith. Do you not agree, Mercedes?
Oh, absolutely. And Matt and I were talking earlier about the Attorney General and the importance of ensuring that we have a conservative Attorney General because of the role that the Attorney General played with the judges and obviously their role just moving forward with the Department of Justice. So it's going to be interesting to see who Donald Trump picks. Would it could be a Senator Sessions, and I think that's the one pick we will be looking at very closely.
Yeah, and they've got to go a lot deeper than, well past the assistant attorneys general to get that place cleaned up. And I appreciate the nod there, Matt. Give me, you get the last word in 15 seconds.
The one thing I'm a little bit worried is they got to make sure that as they make these picks for these cabinet secretaries, that it's well vetted with Senator Sessions and others who know who can get through the Senate. You don't want to slip up early on by picking somebody who is not going to get confirmed. So I think that's the next step they got to start working on.
All right. Well, Donald Trump has got some wonderful people working with him and soon for him. This ought to be a great adventure, well, in democracy, and I can't wait for one. I know you can't either. Matt, Mercedes, thank you both so much. Appreciate it. And again, congratulations.
Thanks, Lou.
Up next, Donald Trump spent about half of what Clinton did on his way to the presidency, spending a little over $5 a vote. That's a bargain. And he won. How did he do it? Chief Operating Officer of the Trump campaign, Jeff DeWitt, joins us here next. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Well, it's sort of a yeehaw evening with Donald Trump now as president-elect. Joining us is the Trump campaign chief operating officer, the Arizona State Treasurer, Jeff DeWitt. Jeff, great to have you here. Congratulations. What a night. What a victory. I mean, what prospects in store for the country. You've got to be, I know you've got to be exhausted, but you've got to be exhilarated as well.
I am on cloud nine, Lou. Just hearing it said President-elect Trump.
Sweet words, huh?
They're very sweet words. And if you knew how hard our team pushed and worked, and our candidate, Donald Trump, he is tireless. If anyone could really see the inside of how hard he works.
At 3:30 this morning, as we're calling the great state of Pennsylvania, and this network, 200, which takes him gets him his 270 to be president, and then we go to the Hilton for his speech to accept it. There he is in the middle of everything. He looks like it's about 9 in the morning. He looked fresh as a daisy.
He has boundless energy. He really does. He's tireless.
Gonna need it.
Yeah, it's hard for some of our 22-year-olds to keep up with him. I mean, he's a worker. He works and he pushes. And
well, what was it? 5 rallies Monday, 5 rallies Sunday.
Yeah,
extraordinary. How soon does it all begin? This is you're now in transition mode.
I mean, it began this morning. There was no time off. I'm working on 45 minutes of sleep. Is all I got last night.
Man. Well, you're doing great. You're not so bad in the energy department.
I've been known to have a lot of energy myself, but now we're working right now to get everything rolling and move from campaign mode to governing mode. And I mean, it's so exciting to get to say that, and we want to deliver and do a great job on the promises that we made.